Hi there, Nate Urandi, Orion Training Systems, back at you with another installment around TUEs, not by choice necessarily, just getting a lot of inquiries about it, so I thought I would try and set a final record straight here and then possibly be done with this topic. A little bit of background on me first, just to let people know where I'm coming from in terms of my own perspective and knowledge. I was part of the first foray by the NCAA into testing college sports. It was the NCAA Swimming and Diving Championships back in 1986, and they chose that sport because of the dominance, quite frankly, of my team over the past decade. And it's no surprise that my teammates and myself were tested an inordinate number of times compared to the rest of the athletes there. Of course, nothing came up across the entire sport, not just my team. So I've been exposed to that through my entire college career as well as my post-collegiate professional career in the sport of triathlon. I was the top Olympic distance triathlete in the country and one of the top handful in the world in the ITU World Cup circuit. So I know what the process is. I know what it takes to be a top clean athlete. I also know what happens to clean athletes when doping athletes come into the sport. So through the 90s when I raced, it was very easy, I should say, to get things like EPO by just walking into certain European pharmacies, and certainly down in South America, the ability to gain performance-enhancing drugs was supremely easy. So when I look at a 4-year period of my career, I go from winning 7 races to the point where just cracking the top 10 was a monumental effort, even as I'm getting faster. So this influx of European and South American athletes just took over the sport. And then when I hear of athletes who talk about training with Festina, if you remember the whole Festina affair, and other things like that, and when I see athletes who at the beginning of a season are nowhere to be found, they're getting crushed, and then by the end of the season, they're winning races, things like that, at the time, you lose a little bit of perspective, but when you look back on those things, it's very evident what was happening. So there's just a high-level overview of my own perspective. I'm not bitter about it. I could have easily gone down the road of cheating. I chose not to. So when I think of TUEs and I think of doping and I think of motorized doping, I find it very interesting that with something like motorized doping, there's a fantastic uproar, and the punishments are both swift and hard. And what it got me thinking just recently is that motorized doping, it's concrete. The evidence is concrete. Cheating is occurring. It's not so much as concrete when there's an accusation leveled around PED use, around abusive TUEs and so forth. And so it is interesting to a degree that's kind of shocking that society at large will say they're innocent until proven guilty. But if you take the step back and put your hero worship up on the shelf and leave it there, and you look at the athletes and where they came from and what they're accomplishing at specific times of the year, the evidence is damning because we look at history and we learn from history. And when we look at Lance Armstrong and Jan Ullrich and Iban Mayo and basically the vast majority of the peloton back then and compare what's happening today to back then, Team Sky is like USPS 2.0. No ifs, ands, or buts. Look at the evidence, and you can't deny that. That's just one example. So this TUE stuff, I don't really care that any athlete that has been uncovered by Fancy Bears or otherwise says, I did nothing wrong. I used what was available to me within the context of the TUE system. Just because legally you didn't break the rules, it doesn't make it morally okay. It's immoral. You're cheating the system to gain an advantage to allow you to win races or to allow you to be victorious in competition. Let me say it that way since it's across all sports. So that's my final word on this. I don't expect to post another video about TUEs, but stranger things have happened. So until next time, leave your comments below. Contact me directly if you so choose. But in the meantime, happy training.